you find something new to watch. A show everyone's been talking about, something with good reviews, something that's supposed to be gripping. You start the first episode, it's fine, technically well made, clearly put together by people who knew what they were doing. But somewhere around the 20-minute mark, you notice that you're also on your phone. Not because you meant to be, just because your hand found it, and you're half watching and half scrolling, and neither thing is really landing. You finish the episode, and you're not sure if you liked it. You start another one, same feeling. You switch to something else, also fine, also somehow not enough. You put the phone down and stare at the ceiling for a moment, and there's this quiet, slightly unsettling awareness. Nothing is hitting the way it used to. It's not just television, it's food that tastes fine but doesn't satisfy. It's plans of people you like that feel slightly flat once you're actually there. It's buying something you wanted and feeling the excitement dissolve almost before you've finished unboxing it. It's waking up on a day off with no obligations and feeling not free but empty, because freedom without appetite is just vacancy. The world keeps offering things and you keep receiving them, and something in the transaction is broken. The things arrive but the feeling doesn't. And the most disorienting part is that you remember it being different. You remember a time when things landed, when anticipation felt real, when excitement had a specific electricity to it, when certain experiences genuinely moved you, and now you're in the same life, with more access to more experiences than ever before, and the landing zone seems to have gone quiet. You're not sad exactly, you're not depressed in any way. You could clearly explain to someone else. You're just flat, muted, like the volume on your inner life got turned down without you noticing when or why. Understanding what happened requires understanding something about how your brain's reward system actually works. Because this isn't a personality change, and it isn't aging. It's a specific, predictable response to a specific set of conditions that have been accumulating in your daily life, probably for longer than you realize. Your brain has a system dedicated to anticipation and reward. When you encounter something novel, something promising, something that could be good, this system activates and produces the feeling of excitement, interest, desire, aliveness. That feeling is not the reward itself. It's a signal that a reward might be coming, and it exists to motivate you toward things that are genuinely valuable. Food when you're hungry, connection when you're isolated, achievement when you've been working toward something. The signal is supposed to be proportional to the actual value of the thing and the degree to which you genuinely needed it. This is where things get strange. The modern digital environment has learned to trigger that signal artificially, continuously, and at a scale that has no precedent in human history. Every scroll produces a small activation. Every notification carries the suggestion of something potentially rewarding. Every new piece of content promises, implicitly, that this one might be the thing that finally delivers the feeling you're looking for. The system fires dozens or hundreds of times a day, in response to things that are almost never as rewarding as the signal suggested they would be. And here is the critical part. When a biological signal fires repeatedly, without the proportional reward following, the brain adapts. It reduces the sensitivity of the signal. It requires more stimulation to produce the same activation. The threshold rises, and what used to feel exciting starts to feel ordinary. What used to feel ordinary starts to feel flat. The volume doesn't turn down on the world. The sensitivity of your receiver turns down because your brain, following its own logic, decided the signal was no longer a reliable indicator of something worth getting excited about. This process has a name in neuroscience. It's called hedonic adaptation at one level and reward pathway desensitization at another. But you don't need the terminology to recognize it. You've been living it. The things that used to hit don't hit because the system that was supposed to register them as hits has been calibrated by years of overpromising and under-delivering, by an environment that learned to speak fluently in the language of excitement without ever actually providing what excitement was pointing toward. And this explains something that confuses a lot of people, which is why having more access to more things makes the flatness worse rather than better. More stimulation is not the cure for a desensitized reward system. It's the cause. Every time you respond to the flatness by reaching for something more, something louder, something more extreme, something designed to be more stimulating than the last thing, you're not restoring the system's sensitivity. You're continuing the process that reduced it. The ceiling rises again. The threshold moves again. And the next thing needs to be even more to produce the same amount less. What most people miss is that this isn't just about dopamine or screen time in the simple sense that most articles about it suggest. It's about the relationship between effort, anticipation, and reward, and how that relationship has been quietly broken by a world that delivers rewards without effort and stimulation, without genuine anticipation. Think about what genuine excitement used to require. Waiting for something, not knowing if it would happen, working towards something over time, and feeling the anticipation build because the outcome was uncertain and depended on you. The reward, when it arrived, landed against a background of real hunger, real uncertainty, real investment. The contrast between the anticipation and the arrival was what made the arrival feel like something. When everything is available immediately, when there is no waiting, no uncertainty, no investment, there is no contrast. And without contrast, nothing lands the way it should. This is why experiences that involve genuine effort tend to feel more alive than experiences that don't. Even when the effort is uncomfortable while it's happening, the meal you cooked for 2 hours tastes different from the one you ordered, not because of the ingredients, because of the investment that preceded it, which created the contrast that made the arrival feel earned. The trip you planned and saved for feels different from the last-minute thing you booked impulsively. The achievement that took months of uncertain work feels different from the one that came easily. The brain values differently what it worked for, not as a moral judgment, but as a biological reality about how the reward signal functions. There's also a social layer to this that compounds the problem. The comparison environment created by social media doesn't just produce anxiety and inadequacy. It also produces a specific kind of emotional numbness, because it floods you continuously with other people's highlights, with their peak experiences, curated for maximum impressiveness, until the baseline for what counts as worth, feeling something about rises beyond what ordinary real life can meet. Your actual life, which is mostly quiet and unremarkable the way all real lives are, starts to feel insufficient, not because it is, but because it's being compared constantly to a feed of other people's extraordinary moments, stripped of all the ordinary moments that surrounded them. The contrast between the real texture of your life and the presented texture of other people's lives creates a chronic mild dissatisfaction that blunts the capacity for genuine appreciation of what's actually in front of you. So what actually moves the needle, in a real and lasting way, for someone whose reward system has been desensitized and whose inner life has gone quiet? The answer isn't dramatic, but it does require going against the immediate instinct. The immediate instinct, when nothing feels exciting, is to look for something more exciting, to scroll further, consume more, seek a stronger signal. The actual intervention moves in the opposite direction. It involves a deliberate, temporary reduction in the volume of stimulation, not as punishment, but as the necessary condition for the system's sensitivity to begin recovering. This is uncomfortable in a specific way. When you reduce stimulation, the first thing you feel is not peace. It's restlessness. The withdrawal from constant input has a texture, a slight agitation, a feeling of something missing, that the desensitized brain interprets as boredom or emptiness. But if you stay with it, rather than immediately relieving it, something starts to shift. The threshold begins to lower. Small things start to register again. The quiet has a quality. The meal tastes like something. The conversation lands. The system, finally given space, begins to recalibrate toward the baseline it was designed to operate at. This process takes longer than people expect, because the desensitization happened gradually over years, and the recovery also happens gradually. But the direction changes faster than the destination arrives. Within days of genuinely reducing stimulation input, most people notice small differences in what registers: a color, a temperature, a moment of connection that would have slid past unnoticed a week before. These small recoveries are not the end of the process. They're evidence that it's working, that the threshold is moving in the right direction, that the system is beginning to find its sensitivity again. Alongside reduction, there is the question of what to replace the volume with. Not more content, not more experiences in the consumer sense, but activities that require genuine investment and carry genuine uncertainty. Something you're learning that is difficult enough to resist easy mastery. Something you're making that might not turn out well. A conversation you're willing to be honest in, even though honest costs something. A physical challenge that requires real effort over real time. These things produce the contrast that passive consumption cannot. They create the genuine anticipation that precedes genuine reward. And gradually, they rebuild the relationship between effort and arrival that the reward system needs in order to function at full sensitivity. The flatness you've been feeling is not who you are. It's what an overstimulated, undernourished reward system produces when the conditions it needs have been absent for too long. Those conditions are recoverable. The sensitivity is recoverable. The aliveness that you remember, the version of experience where things actually landed, that version of you is not gone. It's waiting, quietly, for the noise to come down far enough that it can be heard again. If this felt familiar, comment nothing hits. It helps me know this is something more people are silently dealing with.